If you meet the people in the Negev desert of Israel, you learn there are many hardships of living here, especially in a place like Al-Araqib. This is a Bedouin village that is unrecognized by the Israeli government. Sheikh Sayah is the leader of the tribe that lives here.
وين احنا متساويين الحقوق من ال48 لحد اليوم لا عندنا كهرباء ولا عندنا ما عندنا ولا حاجة ولا مؤسسة ولا كهرباء ولا روضة أطفال ولا مدرسة.
Here, the people live without running water. They pull it up from an ancient well. Their only source of electricity is 5 solar panels and a cord with a single bulb. 2 of the 22 families in Al-Araqib live in this house. A bucket of water to shower and a gas stove to cook are just feet from the bed. The men hang out in the sheg across town. It's their vision of the local bar. It's about 50 yards from home with just a wood-burning furnace. The Altori tribe stays in Al-Araqib because they feel a strong connection to the land. They want to raise their children where their ancestors grew up. Living without the basics is not the only hardship of being here. The Israeli government claims the Bedouin are trespassing their land. So to force them out, they bring bulldozers. Aziz has lived in Al-Araqib his whole life. He stands on the ruins of a stone house destroyed by the government. He walks through fields that were uprooted, finds pipes that once held flowing water and life-altering electricity. And the government isn't satisfied with erasing the Bedouins from the surface. It tries to put down its own roots and claim the land forever. A field that once held crops now hosts hundreds of trees planted by the Jewish National Fund, or JNF.
The JNF uproot our trees and they plant new trees. It's mean they destroy and uproot our history and plant a new history.
Al-Araqib has been bulldozed over 100 times, and just 2 days after this video was shot, it happened again. All of the homes were destroyed, including that 2-family home. Meirav Ben-Ari is a member of the majority party in the Israeli parliament.
If you live in a house that it's not belong to you, you have to leave. This is the rule all over the world.
This is a policy the government started in the last 10 years across dozens of unrecognized villages.
وهدموا مستقبلنا ومستقبل أولادنا وأحفادنا من عن هذه الأرض.
But where did the divide begin? Bedouin people migrated from Africa to the Middle East more than 2,000 years ago. Over time, the Israeli government started to realize the divide between the Bedouins' ancient ways and the way they wanted their country to be. Shweila Abu Arkik is a Bedouin entrepreneur. She says the reasons the government does not see eye to eye with her people has to do with their core beliefs.
אותו דבר באסלאם. זה מה שמבקש האסלאם, זה אותם חוקים של הממשלה היום. אבל שבטים בדואים זה משהו אחר לגמרי.
So this divide encouraged the government to take the land. The Bedouin used to cover most of the Negev desert, but in 1968, the Israeli government began claiming the desert to put them in just a small part of it. Aziz says they wanted the land for military training, building settlements for Jewish people, and to discriminate against the Arab people.
Allahu Akbar.
But the tribes have reasons they say they deserve the land. The oldest grave in Al-Araqib dates back to 1914, more than 50 years before the government started claiming back the desert. They have documents that Aziz says legitimize their right to live where they call home. But when it comes to actually standing their ground, the first hurdle is the court system.
And I can tell you that the Bedouin went to all the courts in Israel. The Supreme Court decided that they need to move.
The government wants them to move to a recognized township like Tel Sheva. This is one of the 7 townships the government created between 1969 and 1989. The original goal was to move Bedouin people away from their spread-out settlements into areas the government could control. Townships have the basic principles of a functioning society. There's a police station, schools, shops, and even the most basic things like running water, all used with the support of the Israeli government. While many Bedouin are happy to live with the support and under the government's rules, they also realize the changes that come with supervised townships. Aziz says the move is just not worth it.
They ask us to move for any recognized villages. and we refuse because in this 7 townships that looking today like refugee camps, there is no job.
There's also a space issue developing in the townships. When the government set them up, they made strict borders that don't change. So when the population grows, the townships do not. Perhaps the greatest fear in these areas is that the Bedouin are losing touch with their culture. People that used to run their lives on camels and agriculture now run on gas and electric. So as a Bedouin, your options are one of the 7 townships or an unrecognized village. If you choose the village and lose in the courts, the bulldozers come. But the people still claim this to be their land, so they rebuild. In many unrecognized villages, that's just the way life is. But they want so much more.
We ask them to recognize our land. We ask them to continue our life like what we want.
احنا منانا الوحيد انها تتراجع هذه الحكومة عن سياستها الهدامة.
The Bedouins believe their hope is realistic, but Aziz says sometimes it's hard to keep fighting in such a large country.
I have not a voice. There is no political people heard me.
We, Israel, the state of Israel, a bit forgot the Bedouin in the south. Unfortunately, we pay a really big price for that.
The Negev Bedouin are a struggling population. They struggle to communicate with the government and to make change in their environment. But here in Beersheba, there's a group that's willing to help. Just inside those doors is the Negev Coexistence Forum for Civil Equality. Down these stairs, Bedouins and Jews work together to fight for Bedouin rights. Arnon Peleg has worked at the forum for 2 years and wants to join the parliament one day. He says the fight for Bedouins to have their villages recognized and supported shouldn't be so hard.
But they're not asking for anything that is not reasonable within the rights as citizens. Like how does it make sense that I, as a Jewish person, can choose the way I want to live? And the Bedouin people don't have any choice. Like they can live in a township which is not well kept, or they can live in a village without any infrastructure.
The problem in his eyes extends beyond a land debate or a racist policy.
Now, we believe that the state of unrecognized villages is not just a Bedouin problem, but it's a civil rights issue. And if we don't take a stance in this situation, then we can't expect other issues to be promoted.
Arnon says part of the problem is lack of knowledge throughout the country, and another is people ignoring the issue.
I think it's mind-blowing that not every news section opens with the world. There are still 100,000 people in the Negev living without water and electricity. Like, that's a big story. But it doesn't, nobody cares about it because it's Bedouin people.
So the forum works in the field with the Bedouin and in the government trying to create policy that will let the people live in peace. They want the same as the Bedouins, for villages to be recognized and the people to be treated as equals. Arnon and his team also strive to help the Bedouin people find work. One place that they can find employment is at the northern tip of the desert in Beersheba. Siraj Technologies is based here. Siraj translates to a source of light in Arabic. The software development company's mission is to employ Bedouin people. Yusuf Al-Sana is the director of software. He says this industry is perfect for minorities.
And it doesn't matter what your background is, where you came from, what colour skin you have, or what gender you are. If you can help them make money, then, well, you're great, and if you can't, then you're not so great.
The money in high-tech startups is also very promising.
With all that affects, even on the wider circles around those people, and on the, let's say, social front, it'll be another step on the path of joining the 21st century, could you say.
Across recognized townships and unrecognized Bedouin villages, the forgotten group of Israel continues to change. With just a few hours in Al-Arqib and a handful of other places in this country, it's clear that Bedouin history is extremely complex. But one thing is certain, they're still here and they still have hope. From the Negev Desert in Israel, Michael Lehr, NCC News.